Welcome to Really Raha, the podcast for women who know they're way too powerful to be stuck in a 9 to 5. I'm Rahaf, multi-six-figure high-ticket sales coach, PhD student in global leadership and change, and sponsored skateboarder. I went from serving tables and chasing tips to mastering high-ticket sales and building income streams that don't require me to trade hours for dollars. Here we talk about the real path into remote sales, landing aligned offers, closing with confidence, regulating your nervous system under pressure, and building a skill set that pays you from anywhere. This isn't bro sales. This is psychology, power, and feminine precision. If you're here, it's because you feel it. Freedom isn't optional for you. It's inevitable. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to the Really Raha podcast. I have another special guest with us today, and I want to introduce V. V is going to share her experience in Revenue Room, and I wanted her to have the floor as we have a conversation with you together. She's also an avid listener of this podcast as well, and says that this was like a big part of her contribution and really showing up so powerfully inside Revenue Room. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Hi, V.
I'm like, hi, Rob. Hi, everyone that's listening. This is has become like my favorite podcast. So I'm just so happy to be on it.
I'm so happy you're here. And I want to take some time and really talk about your timeline because it's so crazy that we've only known each other 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think Friday will be like officially the 1 month. And I remember that because it was like the day after my birthday. And I just remember telling myself, like, what do I really want for my birthday this year? And I'm like, it wasn't anything materialistic, which I was just like, wow, I'm actually in this stage of my life because I'm a new mom. And my son he has the same birthday month as me. So we share the same birthday month and his is like 2 weeks after. So now being a mom, just really thinking about how I can be present for him and my family. I'm like, what do you want? And it revolved around having more freedom and flexibility. It wasn't anything materialistic, not like, oh, I need to go buy a new purse or new shoes. That was me way back in the day, like I want a new pair of running shoes or, new yoga clothes. But this time around, it's like, it was all about family and how can I be a better version of myself for him and my family and even for me, because the journey of being a mom has definitely been the ups and downs, it's been a lot, but I cherished every moment of it because it's a growth aspect of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And time is more valuable than anything. I mean, I feel like the more experiences we have in life, the more we realize how precious time is and how we'll
Yeah.
do anything to put ourselves in a situation where we're looking out for our future and looking out for the people that we
Yeah.
love. So tell me
Exactly.
about how we met, because how did we meet? Let's talk about this timeline, because we have let's say a
Yeah.
3.5 week timeline.
Yeah, I think I've started following you before. I found your page and I was digesting into all of your content. And it's around the time when I was like getting started into high ticket sales. And my journey was probably about end of August when I pretty much like started really getting into all of this. And I'm like, I want to learn want to find out how to level up myself and not go back into corporate, because when I was on maternity leave and like 2 weeks before getting ready to go back to work was when I got that call and said that my position was eliminated and the whole entire department was let go. So that was the loophole. I didn't even know that that was possible. I thought I was safe.
Right.
It was 2 weeks before getting ready to go back. I was getting prepared for that. And everything just went downhill from there. But honestly, I see it as a different calling now and just seeing a positive side to that. That I'm glad that I got to be home and to see all of the milestones of my son up until now. He's 2. So it was definitely a blessing in disguise, So I followed you and I don't think we even connected with each other or anything like that. And then you had reached out to me and was just like, welcome to my little corner, are you here for the content or did you need some help? And at that point I was like, I need some help. At that point I was actually in another sales academy before I got certified, got the foundations, dove into everything that I could, but I just felt like I still wasn't ready, and it's just crazy to think that you go through a course thinking that if you follow everything that you feel good and have all the skills that you need, even with the certificate. But I can finally say I was like nowhere near ready. I feel like I needed so much help with the strategies and implementing it because it's one thing to learn and write it all down. I'm good at that. I'm like, I could write down things and listen to it here all day long, word for word. But then when it comes down to like taking action, like that's the scary part. And just having like a coach on your side that you can talk to on a regular basis and feel like really have that intimate conversation as to what do I need help with and how the coach can support me was everything. Because after the program, I just felt like, where do I go next? Who do I reach out to? You just feel so alone. And I just felt like I didn't even know what to do next. So I'm glad that I took that leap of faith and I really felt that connection with you because you just seemed so like genuine and authentic. And that's something that really resonate with me is I don't want to work with just anyone and everyone. There's got to be that alignment. I definitely felt that connection with you. So I'm just so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, and just to back up in that timeline, you started by saying something so important, is you thought that job was safe. Like, because we think,
Mhm.
"Oh, the corporate job, the
Yeah.
9 to 5, like, that's the safe paycheck," and I think it creates this illusion of safety, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to business and cutting people back and laying people off and you going on maternity leave and you coming back and your position's gone. So
Yeah.
how safe really is that job? So just honoring
No.
you for putting the power in your own hands to take control over your life, to learn a skill set like sales
Yeah.
and build a life around it. So you
Yes.
joined the program and you mentioned, you felt like something was missing. You weren't really getting what you needed. Can you talk more about like what you didn't get? Because a lot of the programs out there follow this similar structure and I talked to a lot
Exactly.
of women who like who feel this gap. So can you talk to me more about this gap that you felt?
Yeah, totally. I think coming into that program, there was hundreds of girls, and so I just felt like a small fish in the sea. It was just so crazy because I thought I would, feel like that intimate connection, but little did I know I was kind of like shying in the corner. I didn't wanna raise my hand. I felt intimidated by everybody else that was answering questions. So I think that larger group setting was definitely hard and scary for me, like, I didn't feel confident enough to raise my hand. I didn't feel confident about wanting to do a mock call or ask any questions. And so from there, that's when I realized, like, if you're not implementing what you're learning, you're not gonna get the result that you want. So it's like you can go through all of the self-paced courses, you can dive into all that material, write it down, but you gotta take action because without that, you're not gonna get that result.
Yeah, which is why YouTube videos and freebies and master classes and webinars can only get us so far. And I remember
Yes.
too, because you joined another program after that. So you did the course, you joined another program. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and that was the second program after that, where I thought maybe I could take my skill set to the next level in high ticket, but it turned out that the structure was actually causing me more stress and anxiety, due to the fact that, like, I'm on the West Coast and these group calls were taking place at 5 AM, 6 AM, and I'm like, "How do you do that when you're a mom and you have a 2-year-old?" And I was actually just being really hard on myself and feeling so much guilt and shame that, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't get on that 5 AM call, couldn't get on that 6 AM call." So, I just knew, like, that cortisol pumping through me was not something that resonated with me. So, I like this structure a lot more because there's a balance and that flexibility that I need. And there's the call recordings in case something happens. But obviously, there's a difference when you're able to show up, as opposed to having the call recordings. But that previous program didn't have any of those group calls. So
Oh, wow.
this definitely resonated me more with having that flexibility and the freedom when I'm able to hop on and deal with my life.
And the fact that you kept going, because it's very easy to be discouraged the first time and say, "Oh, I guess it just doesn't work for me." But you kept
Yeah.
going because
Yeah.
your big why, spending time with Leo and spending time with family and having that free time to yourself. I mean, that was the power that took you through to even invest in that second program. And I think we met, what, 2 weeks after the second
Yeah.
program
Well,
was when we
maybe 2
connected on
weeks.
our first
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, and even then, I was just like I had no hesitation, maybe a little bit, but I just knew that it's the investment that you make in yourself that's gonna get you that life that you want. So it was scary, we all have doubt, we all have that fear, but I knew it's like you can be resourceful, and this is that return of investment that I'm gonna need, that skill set that's gonna change my life forever so that I don't have to go to corporate and I don't have to go back to a 9 to 5.
Yeah. And then coming into revenue room with me and Mike and the women 2 weeks after investing in the second program, and, it's just so beautiful because the second program you invested in was like high ticket affiliate, like learning about affiliate and how to
Yeah,
be, how to send the DMs, how to do all of that, which is incredible because as soon as you came in, there was an opportunity for you to practice what you joined that
yeah.
program for inside revenue room. So, do you want to share a little bit about how you were able to bring that skill set inside and how you're already able to make that ROI back before even getting your training done?
Yeah, and I think that was crazy to even see that I was able to bring that skill set that I was learning over here, which is pretty much like being an affiliate for you. But I think what I was struggling with is having the frameworks. So what you provide in the container, the
Yeah.
Miro and the frameworks, and being able to see from the start to end where you move down. Because I'm a visual learner and that's how I learn. I'm like, I struggle with like brainstorming things, but when I see it, it's like the path is there. You just study that and follow that, and you really can't go wrong. So I'm glad that I just dove in and I immersed myself in the curriculum. I even had to watch videos maybe 4 times, break it down into, like, listen to something, "Okay, what does that word mean? What does this sentence mean?" And really resonate with it. I really had to figure out the way to learn this material in a whole new different way that, I can take all in because you can't learn it all in one go. There's just so much high value information, and it's all new things. It's almost like learning a new subject, a new language, so
Yeah.
really find out what works for you, and I'm glad that I just started taking action right away because as soon as I saw that you had that affiliate, the first way to make a quick win, I'm like, "I'm gonna do it." You just gotta go all in and just don't be afraid and just take the leap of faith and believe in yourself that if you you're practicing. It's like riding a bike, you don't learn how to ride a bike the first time you get on a bike. You're gonna fall, you're gonna trip, you're gonna get some bruises, and that's exactly how I feel. Sometimes I'm in a message and I'm like, my brain just fogs up, but I'm like, "Just take it easy, go back to your notes, go back to the framework,
Yeah.
you got this," and somehow before 3 weeks, I already made my first commission.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's like there's no limit to that either. So even while you're getting trained, you can make $500 per affiliate, just bring them in. And it's beautiful too, because only the students inside have the ability to do that. And
Yeah.
you are just that star student energy who's just taking advantage of any opportunity so that you can learn. Like, and I think what distinguishes you from someone who might not see success is your intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
internally, you are so motivated to just learn sales because you know that when this is dialed, then everything external comes from that. And I
Yeah.
remember, like, when you first came in, we did so much work with like, your baseline. Like, can you talk
Yes.
more about that? Because of that switch from, like, the 5, 6 AM, waking up, getting
Yeah.
straight on the computer. How did that anchor in your baseline so that you could receive all this knowledge after you joined Revenue Room?
Yeah, that was definitely hard. I think I came into well, before, like, doing that, intro call with you, and you taught me how to get back to my baseline and do the groundwork. I was having high anxiety, I was stressed, I was just really flustered, and I was not forgiving to myself, I would start my day pretty much with, like, shame and guilt, not being able to get onto that 5 a.m. call and 6 a.m. call, and that energy is going to bounce off to Leo, and I definitely didn't want that anymore because I could tell he was getting flustered, and so that was just not a good energy that I wanted to continue down the path for. So I'm glad that you showed me how to get back to my baseline and do some of the things that sometimes you kind of just forget, like even listening to music, going outside, staying in the sunlight, listening to the birds, all the little things that I kind of just forgot, just even those little things, you got to make that time for yourself. And it's like a non negotiable, like your morning ritual needs to be a non negotiable to set the tone for the day. and I feel like I had lost that. So I'm so glad that now I've just rewired my mindset to do that snap and shift, like, "No, I'm not letting that happen." I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna listen to the Really Raw podcast because that just sets my day, like, and I have all of these tools that I know I can go back to just to get myself to feeling centered and focused again and not allowing that anxiety to come up.
Ah, so beautiful. So beautiful, especially because what you said before, like Leo deserves to see you feeling like this because especially
Yeah,
at that young age, he's looking at you, he's learning about you, how to act like you. They're very
yeah,
spongy, like their brains are very spongy. So once again, like that motivation is so strong. And
yeah.
walk us through like what you're training in Revenue Room. Like what is it that you're primarily training on? What your opportunities look like?
Yeah. So right now I'm focusing on my DM sets. I'm pretty much all in action. I'm dealing with the objections that come through, and that's the best way to learn because now I'm getting hard objections where I'm like, I really got to pause and think about this. But it really just comes back to how can I provide this value to someone else that's wanting to learn high ticket sales? They don't want to just stay in the corporate life and they want to get out of their 9 to 5, or they're also a mom. So I'm really taking myself out of the equation now and just thinking about what is a solution that I can provide for them and just showing them that this space is definitely what is going to help them, and having a coach in the world makes all of the difference so that you don't feel alone, that you can have the support of everyone else that's in there. We're all in the same journey. We're all women that are fired up. So I think it's just so important to be in that community because when you're doing it by yourself, like it gets lonely and it's just so easy to get lost in your thoughts and those limiting beliefs just come up. So I'm just so glad that I have this space to keep me grounded.
Yeah, I'm so happy you mentioned that because that's one of the biggest things I stand for is community, especially in what you said, leaping from the 9 to 5 world into high ticket sales and doing your own thing, being a remote closer, being a remote setter, it's against the grain of what we're used to. And if you know me, you've heard me talk about blue pill and red pill, but that blue pill to red pill conversion, it is scary because the majority of the people around us, the 99%, they have that mindset of, "Oh, that's scary. Oh, that's not safe. Oh, that's not predictable." When really the evidence is contrary to that because what did you say? You lost that
Yeah.
safe blue pill
Yeah.
job when you came back from maternity leave. So there's a lot of evidence if we were to look around, we start to see that this doesn't make sense. But when we're in
Yeah.
it and we are making that leap, it feels very lonely. It feels very scary. It feels
Mhm.
very much like
Yeah.
I'm doing this on my own. So all it takes is that one person to not believe. But then you look around
Yeah.
at the room that you're in that's supporting you and you're like, "Oh, wow, like, people actually believe in me. They actually are
Yeah.
hyping me up."
Yeah, totally. It makes all the world of a difference because I feel like I've always been the odd one out of my family, and my friends are like, "Why do you think that that is possible?" Like, "Why do you even, like, wanna think that you can do that? Like, nobody else is doing that." But I'm like, "I think I can, and I'm willing to find out if I can do it."
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious, walk us through, like, what the training looks like for you. Like, you as a DM setter inside, like, what does your day-to-day look like? How does it look like for you being in Revenue Room as far as, like, consuming the content, being on the calls?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've learned to just really dive into my morning rituals. So I've learned just to not pick up my phone, leave like leave it for later, like 30 minutes to an hour later. So now, I'm playing with Leo. I'm having that time to be present with him so I'm not flustered and stressed. And then I love just listening to the podcast. So I'll listen to one of your episodes. I probably listened to the same one 3 or 4 times already. So whatever the day is that I'm feeling, I'll pick an episode to listen to it to really set that intention. And then after that, I'll do some journaling. And I love that you provided the 4 questions. I think it's like who you are, or where do you want to be, or what do you want to receive today. So I follow that same method. So I'm like, whatever's working for Raw, it's going to work for me. So I'm like, I don't want to think about anything. I'm just going
Right.
to follow what works. And that's what I do. So I've been loving that journaling. And then I'll get into the curriculum and just start tackling things that I need to focus on. I'll go back into the framework and just focus on like the route that I want to focus on. And I handle like different objections that I want to work through. And I think it's just really diving down to bits and pieces of the framework because it's not something that you're just going to read and you get right away. Like today, I think I really told myself, like, even though I went through the whole curriculum, I'm like, there's little bits and pieces that when you're not reading the notes and you're actually in action, it's different. And I'm like, I have a
Yeah.
hard time actually applying it. So that's something that I'm focusing on. And I think the main thing is making it fun as well, because once you take the fun out of it, that's where the anxiety comes back up. So I always remind myself, like, how can we make that fun? Like, who's this person that you're talking to? I'm like, okay, she's in school right now and she's figuring out how she can do this part time. I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, there's a way that we can make this work part time for you, like there's just so many different solutions available. And I think learning how to be resourceful is the biggest thing too. That if you really want something, it's not that you have to have money. And that's something that was a big lesson for me this year is I'm always like, I don't have the money to do something, but that's all of us. A lot of us don't have money laying around to invest in yourself. But when you get resourceful, when there's a will, there's a way. For sure.
Yeah. And that was the version of you that stepped inside is the resourceful part of you. So as soon as you came in, you started getting resourceful with your time. You started getting resourceful with your energy because you practiced getting resourceful with money in
Yeah.
that one time. And that's what I talk about all the time. It's like, it's not just about money. It's like, it really is that initiation of like, who do I want to be in this program? Someone who says, how can I do this? How can I get crafty? How can I get creative? How can I make my morning ritual part of my everyday? So it really channeled that resourceful part of you. And I love
Yeah.
too how you said that you listened to episodes and what worked for you. Like there's no need to reinvent the wheel, which is like the premise of
No.
what we've created.
Yeah.
Like the whole point is like pay attention to someone who's done the thing that you want to do and then
Yeah.
find your version of it. But there's no need to start from scratch. There's no need to figure everything out from ground zero. That's why mentorship is so important because of time. We
Yeah.
value our time so much that we get to collapse that timeline, invest a little bit of money, and then become the person that we've been wanting to be without having to work for someone else in a corporate structure. It's like we get to start living the dream right now without the
Yeah.
ceiling of time per
Exactly.
hour. And you've been able to do that so well. And it's just so inspiring to so many women that are even listening to this right now. Like you are evidence for that story that you don't have to just wake up on autopilot every day and just look in your mirror
No.
and say, okay, ugh, I got to go to work. I got to be around people I don't want to be around. Like you took
Yeah.
that initiative. And I think it's so beautiful and inspiring that so many people are like at that breaking point. So I want to ask you, like,
Yeah.
for that woman that is sitting there, and she's like, oh my God, like, I'm so close to being able to do this. What would you say to her right now?
I would say do it. I feel like I relate to everyone that is tirelessly scrolling at night, diving into those YouTube videos. I've done it all. I really have. And it just takes so much time and energy, and it's just like, how long can you keep doing that? And when you really sit and think about how long I've been doing it for, I've done it for years, you know, and it's just like, I'm at this point now that I don't want to waste any more time. Being present is so important because I feel like I was just pregnant and I just had a baby, but now my son is 2. So it's just like,
Mm,
what is the next 2 years going to look like? And if I actually had to go back to corporate and go to, back to a 9 to 5, now I would say I would be miserable and I would probably be so sad. I'd probably cry myself at my desk wanting to be at home with my son. And it's just sad that that's people's realities and that some people are okay with that and some are not, but there is a way out. If you really want to do something, you can make it work for yourself. And it's scary. Everything new that you do, everything that you learn is always scary. But I think that's also the fun part about it is finding yourself again, because as a mom, I felt like because I've been out of work for so long, I was starting to feel like I was losing myself. You lose the confidence, the
mm,
self-value, and I started thinking like, what skill set do I have to bring back to the world? Like all the questions, all the limiting beliefs come through your mind as a mom. But I'm glad that being a mom now, it's become my superpower. Like I function so well with just the lack of sleep and the million things that I get done. I surprise myself that when you need to be a mom and you have to be there for your child, you do everything. So it's like apply that to different parts of your life. You can also do it too, use that
yeah.
superpower to leverage to where you want to be and learn that skill set. That's going to be the number one asset to anything that you do.
Yeah, and that skill set you're learning, it doesn't just end, you have
Yeah.
that for the rest of your life. I mean, learning sales, it being the highest income generating skill set, I mean, everything in life is
Yeah.
sales, anything you wanna do, communication, relationships, everything comes back to learning sales. And I think it's really interesting too how we don't even realize how much our relationships in our life start to change when we
Yeah. Mhm.
understand how to ask
Yeah.
certain questions and guiding questions. And what you've been
Yeah.
able to do is really design your life around the work that you're doing. And I think with a 9 to
Yes.
5 structure, we don't really have an opportunity to do that. It's like, no, we have to show up at these hours. We have to show up
Yeah.
when we have our cramps, when we're on our period. It's like we just have to push through all this stuff all the time. And we're not
Yeah.
in sync with the world, with
Mhm.
the universe, with God, with source. It's like we're feeling very disconnected from everything around us. So no wonder it feels like the magic has worn away.
I love that you mentioned the spiritual aspect because I felt like I was losing that. Like,
Mm,
I feel like being in corporate, it's like heads down, do what you need to do, hit those numbers. No one is asking you, how are you feeling today? Over
yeah.
time, I felt like just living in that energy just really wore me down, and I was losing all the skills on how to get back to my baseline, living in that masculine energy that I was forgetting about my feminine energy.
Mm,
So I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that. It's like we need that flexibility, we need the freedom, especially being a mom and having children. It's like you need to have something for yourself that's going to give you all of that. A 9 to 5 corporate job is doesn't even care if you're a mom. They don't care how you're feeling, what you're dealing with. You still got to show up. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so, so, so true. And it's the reality of so many women, whether they're
Yeah.
moms, whether they're right out of college wanting to do something with their degree, and the only opportunities are just barely making any money. And you're like, is this it? Like, did I really put all this time and work only to go to a job that I feel like is not
Yeah.
really capturing my full essence? So,
Yeah.
wow. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here, V, and to talk to us.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, like V is inside Revenue Room. This is like the experiences of the woman inside. There are immediate opportunities to start making money that only the students inside have, like V said, with like affiliate opportunities, basically referring other women to Revenue Room and then getting a commission right away. You also have abilities to like who I bring on to my team is I hire internally. So when setters and closers are training and they want to be put on roles, something opens up on my team, they have first dibs. And V is right there in line wanting the DM setting role as one of the gigs. And it's nice to be in a space like that where you truly are getting trained and you have immediate access to those opportunities. But more importantly, we teach you how to outreach. We teach you how to get on other offers. Like we are with you as every step of the way. So you're not just learning it and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm all on my own. Like we teach you the sales A to Z. You don't need any experience. The experience is you being in this program and then also teaching you how to interview properly and how to outreach all those coaches as well.
Yeah. And I also want to say I've never seen a coach. I mean, you and Mike, your partner, you guys are just doing it differently. I have to say, like the amount of work that you put into it, because I see it, I'm inside the course, I see the updates that haven't happened and how you're building out this program for to where it was and where you want it to be. It's just so much dedication and it's just amazing how much you guys are putting into it. I can tell. So if you're looking for
Mm,
a place where there's authenticity, they're genuine, they care about you, the support and love, it is all here. It is all here. It's never felt like
mm,
such a home space for me.
mm. We love having you inside, and our mission is to really get more women out of the rat race, out of the 9 to 5. So, really appreciate you taking the time to be here and share your story and really show other women that are in that little gap of like being so
Yeah.
close, showing
Yeah.
them what's next for them.
For sure. I just do it. Take the leap of faith. Believe in yourself is the start. It's just like anything that you want. It's like, just remember when you really wanted something, what did you do to make it work? And how did you think outside of the box? Because I've learned now that money literally is just energy. It's
Yes.
just crazy that now I'm learning it. And I thought about like, is it true? But I lived it. I'm doing it right now. I'm like, I don't have the money to do it. But when you become resourceful, and you're dedicated into wanting to be that change for yourself, but ultimately the bigger picture for me is like my son and my family. you'll find a way to do it. Yeah.
Could not have said it better, V. You could not have said that better. Money is energy.
Yeah. It so is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again for being here. This has been such an incredible episode, and we'll see you next week on the Really Raw podcast. Bye, everybody.
Hi.
If this episode resonated with you, if something clicked, stretched you, or made you see what's possible, share it and tag me on Instagram at Radiant Rahoff so I can hype you up properly. And if you haven't already, subscribe and leave a 5-star review so more women who are ready to step into high-ticket sales and reclaim their freedom can find this space. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited for you already. See you next Tuesday.